Now we got to the key pillars of longevity, and I'm very excited to record this video. If you watch one video in this whole module, it would probably be this, in the Peak Health Foundations, where we will touch on the key pillars. So let's just get straight into it. The first thing is what we will cover. So we will talk about movement and exercise. Then we will talk about nutrition for longevity. We will talk about quality sleep and recovery. Then stress management and mindset. Then social and psychological well-being. Okay? So, movement and exercise. Strength and muscle mass. Maintaining muscle mass leads to a better life, less disease, and less risk of frailty in older age. Now, obviously, building enough muscle mass, having a good base of muscle mass is very good for you right now. It, like we discussed in the last video, it increases your basal metabolic rate. So, gives you, I don't want to say it gives you room to eat some more cake. It does, but that's not what you should use it for, right? But it gives you energy. It gives you an increased focus, having more muscle mass. And it gives you a better life. You can play with your kids. You can do whatever you want in the boardroom or in the bedroom, whatever you do, right? But it is also a very good marker of being less frail in older age. Because let me tell you what most people, when they're old, what they die from, essentially. So when people are older, they break a hip, right? Everyone has heard about this story before. You're 85 years old, you break a hip, and then you have to get surgery, so you're admitted to the hospital. You get surgery, you're admitted to the hospital. You have to stay there for at least 2 weeks to really recover and to do a little bit of training before they can send you home again, right? But in the meantime, you get pneumonia. And your body cannot withstand that. Your immune system is not strong enough. And in the end, you pass away, unfortunately. All because you got a fracture in your hip. Because you fell. Because you couldn't hold your own weight. You didn't have enough balance. Because you had less developed muscles in your lower body. So this is why, and it's obviously, it's a very simplistic way of putting it, right? But it's essentially what muscle mass does for you. It helps you stay alive and helps you thrive for as long as you are on this earth. So this is why having a good amount of muscle mass is so crucial, is so important to living a good life now. But it's also an insurance policy to be able to keep on living a good life for the rest of your time here. You should also have daily activity, right? So simple, consistent movement is the key. Resistance training 2 to 3 times per week and other activities on other days. This is what I do. On a weekly basis, I work out twice a week. And you might have heard about my system already, but this is what I do. I work out twice a week. I do 2 different muscle groups in one session. I do 3 different exercises per session. And then I do 1 set till failure. Usually 12-15 reps, but only 1 set till failure. And then I go on to the next exercise. This builds my strength training program with added in cardio. So I'm doing cardio and I'm doing strength training at the same time. And I do this for 20-30 minutes per session. And then again, 2 times a week. That's less than 1 hour. Even if I did 3 sessions and I did 20 minutes, that's less than 1 hour per week, right? So this is how you build muscle mass. And I've built my muscle mass doing that. It's also how you maintain if you're at a good level that you're happy with, if you're older. So that's how you maintain that as well. And then coupling it in with other activities. So that could be walking. The most important thing is that you do some kind of physical activity every single day. And walking is a very good activity. Like we talked about in the last video, walking is zone 2 cardio. So it's one of the most efficient ways and risk-free ways of losing weight, because more than 50% of the energy that you're burning comes from burning fat. So do that. Do simple movements, consistent movements. You could even do mobility. That's especially important when you're above 30, 35. You have to start adding mobility exercises to your program, right? And this is what we said. Go to MMF. MMF is momentary muscle failure when you do strength training. to build more muscle and increase longevity while decreasing the amount that you have to recover. If you go to momentary muscle failure, if you do 12 to 15 reps and you only do one set per exercise, you have to recover less. You have to recover less, right? If you do 2 to 3 sets, I see guys doing 3 sets, completely crushing their muscles, and then go to the gym again a day and a half, 2 days later, thinking that they recovered properly. Most people recover in 3 days. We say 2 days, but most people actually recover fully in 3 days. So if you work out more than that, more often than that, you're not building muscle. You're not retaining muscle. You're just destroying your muscle mass and destroying your hormonal health as well, right? So go to momentary muscle failure. This is one of the best ways to stimulate muscle growth while, especially if you only do one set, while keeping recovery time low. And, spending less time in the gym. This is essentially what I've designed all of this for, is to be as efficient as possible. Again, minimizing the input and maximizing the output of what you're getting, right? So let's talk about the nutrition for longevity. Whole foods first. 1 ingredient meals, minimally processed foods, protein-rich and healthy fats from animal-based sources. Now, at the end of this slide, I'm going to give you a cheat code to how you can remember this. But focus on eating foods that have 1 ingredient. If you eat a steak, that's 1 ingredient. If you eat fish, that's 1 ingredient. If you eat eggs, that's 1 ingredient. Now, you could cook it with butter, for example, then it's 2 ingredients, but still, keep it as minimally processed as possible. Again, this is how you make sure you don't get those blood sugar spikes. You keep your energy levels as high as possible with no fluctuations. You keep a good amount of focus during the day and you increase your productivity. You make sure that you're happy. You have a good mood doing it this way. And one of the key words here is protein rich. Protein rich to make sure that you're building muscle mass. Like we said, muscle is probably the most important organ you have in your body. Having a good amount of muscle mass when you're healthy. It's also a very easy way to become healthy, is having good amount of muscle mass. And then healthy fats from animal-based sources. Healthy fats are not processed fats. You want to have fats from natural sources. That should be your priority. And again, prioritize nutrient density. You get vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants protect your cells. They slow aging, and they are the building blocks of optimal hormonal levels. So we have the macronutrients, which are the proteins, the fats, and the carbs, and then we have the micronutrients. These are the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants. They make sure that whatever function your cell is performing, it's doing it at its best, at its highest capacity. This is how you optimize testosterone levels naturally. Is by making sure you're getting your macronutrients, that you're working out, but that you're also getting your micronutrients. This is why we say a lot that it's hard to have good testosterone levels if you have low vitamin D levels. You need zinc, you need magnesium as well to optimize your testosterone levels, right? B12. You need these vitamins for vital cell processes to really be able to optimize. Now, you could survive on not optimal levels. You could. But this is not what this is about. This is not about surviving. You're watching this course because you want to be the best you could ever be, maximizing your physical and your mental performance, unlocking that potential. So you need to be sure that you're getting nutrient-dense food, right? And you do that with animal-based foods. Now, the opposite of nutrient-dense is calorie-dense. That is when you eat food that is high in carbs and in fat. That's calorie-dense without being any nutrient-dense. This is the framework that I was talking about in the beginning. HPMFLC. High protein, moderate fat, low carb. That is the framework that will work for most people paired with animal-based diets. For most people who are not professional athletes, eating a bunch of protein, getting your fats, and then keeping carbohydrates lower is one of the cheat codes to achieving superhuman health. So this is one of the easiest things that you can implement today, immediately, in your next meal. Eat more protein, get a good amount of fats from animal-based sources, and keep your carbs low. Again, to really have that stable blood sugar, to be able to produce muscle mass, and to keep the muscle mass that you have. Let's talk about quality sleep and recovery. So, when you sleep, it's critical, right? It's critical repair time. Deep sleep is when the body recovers, repairs tissue, cleanses the brain, and optimizes hormones. This is why it is so important to get proper sleep. You know this. You know this already. If you don't sleep properly, your brain will not work properly, right? You cannot function. You don't have that same mental capability, mental capacity to solve problems, to be able to function all the time, right? And getting that deep sleep is important. You get that deep sleep in the first part of the night, so make sure that you're sleeping enough. This is where we get to those 7-8 hours. And we will go deeper into this in the sleep and stress module. But you should sleep in cycles, essentially, 90-minute cycles. So that's 7.5 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours. Try to avoid sleeping anything in between that. So you're always sleeping in those cycles. So you're waking up when you are just finishing one cycle. It's going to make it easier for your body to wake up. And you have all of the performance aspects of repairing the tissue, cleaning your brain. This is literally what happens when you sleep, right? And then sleep hygiene, having a consistent bedtime, the same routines, and limiting blue light late at night. That's key. A consistent bedtime can do so much for you. And this is simple. It is literally just going to bed and waking up at the same time. Because your body loves patterns. Your brain loves patterns. Your brain recognizes patterns. When it sees that you're doing something every single day before going to bed, it knows that it means that now you have to go to bed. And it's going to make it easier to fall asleep and sleep better, increasing the quality of your sleep and not only the quantity, right? This is the same routines. And then limiting blue light. You want to limit blue light because you want to make sure that your brain is producing melatonin. You need melatonin to fall asleep. And if you're getting blue light, your brain thinks that it's still sunny outside and that you have to stay awake. This is why when you scroll through your phone half an hour before going to bed, you're not sleeping properly. You're hurting your sleep by doing that, right? So that is one of the easiest ways to improve your sleep is by removing any type of screen an hour before going to bed, right? And for recovery, you can do advanced therapy. You can do massages. Physical massages actually help you release tension. You can do saunas, which is very good for cardio. And then you can do red light therapy to also be able to maximize your recovery. I'm going to go more into that in the later modules, not so much in this module. Let's talk about stress management and mindset. Impact on aging. Chronic stress accelerates aging and undermines vitality. You have to be able to manage stress. This is what we see when we... So there's this famous football trainer, Pep Guardiola, right? FC Barcelona legend. He used to play for that team, and then he became a coach. And when he was a coach there for 4 years. And at the beginning of his term, at the beginning of his coaching career in Barcelona, he had a full head of hair. In the end, after 4 years, he was bald. He didn't even had gray hair. He was bald. So this is what chronic stress leads to. You can see it on the hair. You can see it on the skin. So make sure that you're managing that stress, right? You don't want to have chronic stress. Acute stress is fine. Emergent stress in a short time period is fine, and it's normal, right? But it's not so good for your longevity. Mental resilience, you get that by doing mindfulness exercises, meditation, journaling, and praying. Maintain emotional balance and performance during stressful periods. Meditation is such a hack to really be able to look at yourself without judging and continue working on what you have to work on, especially in those times where you haven't seen the results yet, right? Journaling is also a very good way of literally physically taking out the thoughts of your brain, of your mind, and putting them down on paper so you don't have to think about it more. This is very good to do during stressful periods. And praying, I do that as well. And some people theorize that when you pray, when you believe in something else, when you believe in God, for example, like I do, you are, I don't want to say you give away the responsibility, because you should still feel that everything is your responsibility so you can really take action. But you believe in a higher power, which empowers you in the end. And you could always discuss, is God real? Is he not real? I believe he's real, right? And if you don't, then that's fine. But there is some credit to those people who do believe, because it empowers them to believe that there's something out there. And that could sometimes help them deal with stress, right? So, and again, don't avoid stress. Improving is taking advantage of short-term stress. When you go to the gym, you're stressing the muscle mass. You're stressing it, forcing it to grow bigger, grow stronger the next time. It's the same with your mind. Don't avoid the stress. Just be able to manage it. Social and psychological well-being. Healthy relationships, strong social connections are linked to an extended lifespan and are a great way to let out emotions. Now we know this. When you have friends, when you're on a journey together with other like-minded people, everything is just easier. If you have to do something alone, it just gets harder. This is the adage they say, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Go with someone else. So this is why having a good base of friendships, good base of family, it will help you in your life in general. It's going to extend your lifespan. And you can also use it for, being able to let out some of those emotions that you have, especially when you're with other men. You're maybe more inclined to let out some of those stressors that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? You also get a sense of purpose. Meaningful goals, they drive a purpose that contributes to overall health and longevity. And it's very important that you keep an internal locus of control during hard times. Now, what does internal locus of control mean? It means that you believe that everything is your responsibility, essentially, and that you can control the outcome. This is the difference between, let's take an example of the people who built the pyramids, right? You could say there were two different kinds of people. There were the kind who said, no, I'm just putting on rocks on top of rocks and I'm a slave, which obviously it's hard work, right? But then you also have the people who are saying, I am actually building the pyramids. I'm part of that. They're taking that locus of control. They're taking the responsibility and putting that on themselves and really controlling that frame. It's reframing. And you could always argue, is using the building of the pyramids a good example of this? I don't care. You can judge, be the judge, right? But in the end, you have to, we just know that if you have an internal locus of control, if you truly believe that everything is your responsibility and that you have to take responsibility for whatever happens in your life, and that you see whatever happens in your life from your frame, that you reframe everything, you will be able to go further than most people do, who just blame everyone else. If anyone says, oh, it's his fault, it's her fault, whatever, just know they're not going to go as far. So this is why having an internal locus of control and believing that everything is your responsibility makes everything easier. So, action steps. Pick 1 to 2 of the fundamentals where you lack the most and share your plans and goals to improve with us to get feedback. And I say 1 to 2 because I know from working with so many guys on a one-to-one basis, and even in the group, I always recommend, at least for the first, so when we do 6 months or 12 months, the first 3 months we always focus on improving 1 or 2 areas, which is either diet, it's exercise, it's sleep, or it's stress management. Figure out where you are. Where do you lack the most? And what do you think is going to help you the most? Where do you have most leverage? If that's the diet, then focus on the diet. If it's the sleep, focus on the sleep, right? So pick 1 to 2. Share your plan in the group. If you're in the paid group, share your plans in there. I'm gonna be commenting and looking for those plans in there to be able to give you some feedback so you can improve even more, right? And we will give you some feedback in there. And if you haven't already, join Apex Performance, the paid group, for more in-depth training and plans on how to improve on every single pillar, and get access and feedback from me directly, both on a daily basis in the community itself, but also on a weekly basis doing the Q&As where you can ask me all the questions you have, from all the basic stuff in the pillars to the more advanced stuff for the protocols, and those things that I think are a bit more fun, at least for me. Right. So if you haven't joined Apex Performance, the paid group, there will be a link down here in the description where you can join. And yeah, that was it for this video. Let's get to work.